Hello again. This is one of about 200 talks on the history of Western art, and my talks are divided into sections. This is section 61 on recent artists, and this is episode 11 on the British artist Banksy. Probably the most famous street artist in the world, and one that has turned graffiti into fine art, or if you don't consider it fine art, or at least art that commands very high prices in the leading auction houses in the world. This work he made in 2022 in Borodyanka, Ukraine. It shows a small boy representing Ukraine throwing a big man representing Russia, in particular the judo expert Putin. Now, Banksy is a pseudonym for an anonymous street artist who was expelled from school, served time in prison, and became a street artist around about 1990 to 94. And this work is from 1997, called The Mild, Mild West. Now, as graffiti is illegal, that's one of the reasons he remains anonymous. As he puts it, quote, "Most artists have an obsession that defines their work. Monet had light. Hockney has colour. I've got police response time." He created this as in 1997, and it was a significant milestone in his early career. It's in the Stokes Croft area of Bristol, and it shows a teddy bear throwing a Molotov cocktail at 3 riot police. It's playful yet subversive, and it's characteristic of his style, which combines innocence with rebellion. The artwork reflects the social and political climate of Bristol in the late 1990s. It was a time of growing tension between alternative culture and authority. And by using a teddy bear as the protagonist, he cleverly subverts expectations and makes a powerful statement about resistance and the nature of protest. It's particularly significant as it's one of his earliest large-scale works. Previously, they were mostly very small graffiti tags. And this work showcases his ability to create these large, impactful artworks in public spaces. It took him over 3 days. He worked during daylight hours, which is a rarity for street artists who normally work at night. And this bold approach foreshadowed his future audacious art installations. Now, around 2000, he made a major shift in his artistic technique, and this is one of his early works of this type. It's stencil art. He switched from the freehand graffiti you just saw to stencil art, born out of necessity and ingenuity. He claims the idea came to him while hiding from the police under a rubbish lorry, and he noticed the stenciled serial number on the lorry and realised the potential for creating his work faster and in more detail. This transition was a significant turning point in his art because stencils allowed him to create a more intricate design at great speed and therefore reducing the risk of being caught. And also, there was a growing focus at this time on social and political commentary. He produced works that had recurring motifs such as rats, policemen, children, often in ironic or thought-provoking contexts, typically anti-war, anti-capitalist and anti-establishment. There's an anecdote from this period. He once said, "I use whatever it takes. Sometimes that just means drawing a moustache on a girl's face on a billboard. Sometimes that means sweating for days over an intricate drawing efficiency is the key. And this, of course, is Girl with Balloon. Now, a few years later, between 2003 and 2005, he embarked on a whole series of what can only be called audacious stunts. What he would do is he would secretly install his own art in major museums around the world. And this is one example. It's called Peckham Rock, and he surreptitiously placed it in the British Museum, and it highlights his view of the art world and its institutions. By inserting his work alongside revered masterpieces, he challenged the notion of artistic value, curation, and the gatekeeping role of museums. There's many examples. There's a smiling caricature with a cartoon face of the Mona Lisa that he managed to install in the Louvre. There's a fake constable covered in police tape that he installed in Tate Britain. There's a rat wearing sunglasses he placed in the Natural History Museum. Graffiti Lord, another work he placed in the Brooklyn Museum. And Woman with Gas Mask in the Metropolitan Museum. They were all and had to be meticulously planned. He would disguise himself as a tourist or even as a member of the museum staff, and he would carry the work in, typically a small piece of work, under a coat. And he chose locations where it would blend in with the surrounding exhibits. This piece, for example, of wall art is with other primitive art of the period. I won't read the whole quote that he put under the piece, but you can read it in your own time if you wish. The stunts gained very significant media attention across the world, and it furthered his reputation as a sort of provocateur and raised questions about museum security and also about the nature of art. And it also highlighted the contrast between street art and traditional fine art. By moving street art into the museums, he blurs the line between the two. This particular piece is it's claimed, or the press claim, it remained undetected for days because it fitted well into the surrounding pieces, and it was in some cases even weeks before museum staff or visitors noticed, and it led to amusing situations where his work was sort of inadvertently curated alongside priceless artifacts. This is him, actually. It's called Exit Through the Gift Shop, and it was his first film. And what I've done is I've taken a still from the film. It's a documentary about street art. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. And of course, it's a significant departure from his usual medium. And it was a new phase in his career. It's 87 minutes long, distributed by Paranoid Pictures, and follows the story of a particular street artist called Thierry Gutter, who's a French immigrant in Los Angeles who became obsessed with street art and eventually transformed into the artist known as Mr. Brainwash. And the film itself blurs the line between documentary and satire. What you can see here is a still showing Banksy placing a piece of work on a wall. There's a visitor looking at him, but doesn't seem to be taking much notice. He's blurred and keeps his face hidden in the film, so you can't see who it is. And after, he very quickly puts this up and then moves off behind the corner, just walks away. He's obviously disguised as a tourist here. He's provoking ideas of commercialization, street art, and he's giving glimpses of himself, but as I said, he's always obscured or in the shadows. It was critically acclaimed. It was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, a recognition from the mainstream film industry, which further cemented his status as a cultural icon. He was becoming extremely well known internationally by this stage, by 2010. There is an anecdote relating to the film that he requested permission to attend the Oscar ceremony in disguise, which the Academy rejected. I don't know whether that's true, but it does perfectly encapsulate the tension between his desire for anonymity and his growing fame. Naked Man, or sometimes called Well-Hung Lover. It's June 2006. He created this image of a naked man hanging out of a bedroom window on a wall visible from one of the major streets in central Bristol called Park Street. And in the window you can see there's a man in a suit standing next to a woman, a scantily dressed woman, and the man is looking out of the window, apparently looking for her lover. It was painted on the side of a sexual health clinic, although it seems that Banksy, he said he was unaware that it was a sexual health clinic, but he found the juxtaposition of the two images humorous. In 2009, it was defaced by a paintball gun, but it was restored or partly restored by the council and then defaced a second time in 2018 with a black spray paint. The image itself, which as I said was created by Banksy in 2006, sparked a heated debate amongst the council members, who had to decide whether to leave it for the public or to obliterate it. There was a sort of internet vote which showed that 97% of the 500 people surveyed supported the stencil, and the council decided to leave it on the building, to making it the first piece of street art to become legal. Switching around to New York, because he was producing graffiti around the world. This is 2013, Hammer Boy. Painted on a brick wall. It's about 150 centimetres high. It's Upper West Side, 97th Street, between Broadway and Amsterdam. And it was at a time in 2013 when he stayed in New York for a month and produced a series of works that he calls Better Out Than In. And he was creating work on an almost daily basis and turning the city into his canvas, sparked by a frenzy of art hunters searching for his latest piece. This is a striking example. It's literally, it depicts a silhouetted boy wielding a sledgehammer, poised to strike a fire hydrant. And the fire hydrant is actually part of the street art. It is actually a fire hydrant, and it's cleverly incorporated in the artwork, blurring the lines between reality and art. And it shows how he can transform everyday urban elements into thought-provoking art. The child, of course, is engaged in an act of destruction, and it speaks therefore of rebellion, urban decay, and the power of youth to reshape their environment. It got his whole month in New York got significant media attention and public interest, and each new work was tracked down and became a major event. Some pieces were defaced or removed within hours of creation, illustrating the ephemeral nature of street art. He one amusing thing is, when he was in New York, he set up a stall in Central Park selling original signed Banksy canvases for just $60 each, and most of the passerbys just ignored him. They ignored the stall. unaware of the value of the art, and he sold only a few pieces, which shows how context and perceived value influenced our appreciation of art. Those who bought the art could have made millions. This is a very different sort of work. It's called Dismaland, 2015, in a UK holiday resort called Weston-super-Mare. On the 21st of August 2015, he unveiled what I think is his most ambitious project to date. It's a dystopian theme park billed as a bemusement park. It was temporary, and of course it's a dark parody of Disneyland. It features work by Banksy and 58 other artists, and it closed permanently just a month later on the 27th of September. Banksy wrote, "When you go to an art gallery, you're simply a tourist looking at the trophy cabinet of a few millionaires," end quote. Here he wanted to bring art to the nation, so it's a work of art which you participate in. It was shrouded in secrecy before it opened, and the themes were the apocalypse, anti-consumerism, and a critique of celebrity culture, immigration and law enforcement. And the brochure to the park has the sentences in it. "Are you looking for an alternative to the soulless, sugar-coated banality of the average family day out? Or just somewhere cheaper? Then this is the place for you. A chaotic new world where you can escape from mindless escapism." The park was staffed by morose Dismaland employees who were trained to be uninterested in being helpful or even remotely informative, and the entrance required uncomfortable and intentionally awkward security screening, and of course you exit through the gift shop. Just one other image from Dismaland, which I couldn't resist. This is Cinderella's castle, a sort of decrepit, twisted version of the iconic Disney structure, and inside visitors could see macabre scenes. There's Cinderella's pumpkin carriage overturned, surrounded by paparazzi, reminiscent of Princess Diana's fatal car crash. It encapsulated themes of Dismaland, critique of consumerism. It subverts the familiar fairy tale images and forces us to confront uncomfortable realities hidden beneath the veneer of popular culture. It attracted over 150,000 visitors during its 5-week run, and it boosted the local economy. It sparked discussion about art, politics and social issues. The park staff were dressed in pink high visibility vests, as you can just see here in front by the castle door. And as I said, they were trained to be deliberately unhelpful. And following its closure, Banksy announced that all the timber and fixtures from the park would be sent to the jungle refugee camp in Calais to help them build shelters. This is not the Waldorf, the walled-off hotel, Bethlehem, created in March 2017. It's directly facing the West Bank barrier wall. It's a functioning hotel. Banksy described it as the worst view of any hotel in the world. It's both an art installation and a powerful political statement about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. So this hotel is a sort of larger canvas that he used for his work, and there's many installations and artworks inside the hotel in every room, and guests can stay in rooms decorated by Banksy's art and other artists, each offering unique perspective on the conflict. It's an interesting in that the hotel itself housed a museum dedicated to the history of the wall. It was curated in collaboration with local historians, showing his commitment to using his art not just for provocation but also for education and fostering understanding. And then one final image from inside the hotel. This particular work is called Scar of Bethlehem, and it's shown with the manager of the walled-off hotel. It's a poignant nativity scene featuring the classical nativity figures Joseph, Mary and baby Jesus, but with a twist. Instead of the Star of Bethlehem, it's a mortar shell, a shrapnel or bullet hole in the concrete wall above them. So it juxtaposes the peaceful imagery of the nativity with the harsh reality of conflict in the region. And so by reimagining this familiar Christian scene in the modern day conflict, he's reimagining the what happened in Bethlehem, and at the same time drawing attention to the ongoing struggles in the area. You can just make out that on the wall behind it says love and peace as graffiti in English and French. This is Game Changer, or Painting for Saints 2020. Originally located at Southampton General Hospital, later sold at auction with proceeds donated to the NHS. It shows a young boy playing with a nurse, a sort of superhero toy, while in the wastepaper basket there's Batman and Spider-Man discarded. The nurse, who's wearing a cape and a face mask and a Red Cross emblem, has her hands raised in a flying pose associated with superheroes. It's a tribute to healthcare workers. It appeared overnight. It surprised and delighted staff and patients, and it captures the shift in society's perceptions of health workers during the pandemic, who were elevated to the status of superheroes, acknowledging their crucial role in fighting the virus, and showing how the crisis reshaped our understanding of heroism. It deeply resonated with the public and healthcare workers, and it was auctioned at Christie's and fetched £16.7 million, which went to the NHS and health charities. Interesting note about this work, it was left with a message from Banksy. He said, "Thanks for all you're doing. I hope this brightens the place up a bit, even if it's only black and white." End quote. It was a personal touch which underscored his genuine appreciation for healthcare workers. It also gives some idea of the value that Banksy's work was achieving in auction houses. And then in October 2018, he shocked the art world with this daring stunt. Well, maybe stunt is the wrong word. This daring display at a Sotheby's auction. His iconic work, which you saw earlier on, Girl with Balloon, here is painted and framed. Moments after it was sold for just over £1 million, it began to self-destruct because there was a hidden shredder built into the frame, and the partly shredded artwork, you can see here a picture taken as the auction staff were holding up the picture for the sale. What happened was that the shredder, which was meant to destroy the work completely, jammed halfway through. And so the artwork became this half-shredded work, which was renamed Love is in the Bin. It was a critique of the art market. It was also shows his ability to create headline-grabbing spectacles. And the artwork is now, as you see it, a shredded canvas strips hanging below the bottom of the frame. The partially shredded work actually increased in value, and in 2021, what's that, 3 years later, it was resold at Sotheby's for £18.5 million. Remember, it was bought for just over £1 million, a testament to his impact on the art market, which he often criticises. It demonstrates, I think, his ability to surprise and provoke. Another one of his amusing graffiti I'll show you a close-up in a moment. In December 2020, he created this work on the wall of the house at the bottom of what's meant to be the steepest residential street in England. And it shows, it's called Achoo, and it shows an elderly woman sneezing violently with, you can just about see it, let me show you a close-up, her dentures flying out of her mouth. And the piece, remember it's 2020, was created during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he's combined humour with commentary. At the time, the exaggerated sneeze plays on our heightened awareness of respiratory symptoms during the pandemic, and the steep hill just adds another level of visual comedy. It's in Bristol, Totterdown in Bristol, which is his hometown, and it continues his tradition of creating site-specific works that interact with their environment in meaningful ways. It sparked a lot of local and international interest. People flocked to see it despite the pandemic lockdown, and it shows his enduring ability to capture the public's attention. As it happens, the house owner on which this was painted was in the process of selling the property when the mural appeared, and I don't know to what extent, but the artwork's appearance reportedly increased the value of the house significantly. And I have seen there's photos were taken in the shown in the press of the wall being partly demolished and the artwork being taken away. It was that valuable. London, this is part of a London Zoo series called Gorilla 2024, so we're coming right up to date now. In August 2024, this series called London Zoo series concluded with this striking mural on the security shutters of London Zoo itself. It's a gorilla lifting a tarpaulin to release various animals, including sea lions and birds. Each of the works in this series was painted across London and featured various animals in urban settings, mountain goats, elephants, a black panther and so on. And it sparked citywide excitement and a treasure hunt as people search for new Banksy pieces. This brings it all back. This final piece, Gorilla, brings all the animals back to their home at London Zoo, and it comments on captivity and freedom and the relationship between the urban environment and wildlife. The staff at London Zoo, you might be wondering what happened to it. They immediately cordoned it off for protection so that it couldn't be cut out by anyone, and it shows the evolving relationship between street art and established institutions, because his work, which was once regarded as graffiti and removed, is now often preserved. Just a close-up of the work so you can see it more clearly. He's painted it on the metal shutter itself when the zoo was closed. And that brings me towards the end. This, in November 2022, he created a series of 7 murals across war-torn Ukraine, including Kyiv, Irpin and Borodyanka, and which is where this work was painted. And they're a powerful statement of solidarity with the Ukrainian people during the ongoing Russian invasion and war with Russia. It was sprayed onto the wall of a missile-damaged kindergarten. And other murals that he painted include a woman in a leotard doing a handstand, children using a metal tank trap as a seesaw, and a man who looks like Vladimir Putin being thrown in a judo match. This piece we're looking at now. The visit where he travelled across Ukraine was documented in a video and shared on his Instagram account. He conversed with local residents, which are all included in the video, showing the human, giving a human context to the war's impact. The work was followed up with a limited edition print in December 2022, and the proceeds of that go towards the Legacy of War Foundation to support Ukrainian civilians during the conflict. And this work, this particular work, has been turned into a stamp in Ukraine. Putin, incidentally, has a lifelong passion for judo and became a black belt in 1976 when he was 24. So this is must be particularly galling for him to show a young child throwing what's intended to be Putin. Now, I'll just say a few more words about the identity of Banksy. We still don't know who he is, but of course there's the press can't stop themselves investigating and trying to find out who he is. He was born in Bristol, we know. There's a lot of statements been made by him. I've read some of them because he goes into print. He's got a website. He's been active since the 1990s. Now, in 2008, the Mail on Sunday, a British newspaper, claimed that he is Robin Gunningham. Robin Gunningham is a Bristol-born ex-public school boy, now estimated to be worth £50 million. Some people claim that that's wrong and that he's actually someone called Robbie Banks, or some people think he's Robert Del Nair. I think whoever he is, his work suggests a complex individual who incorporates a complex blend of unique traits, deeply emotional, profound critical thinker, driven by a strong social responsibility, a desire for change in society, a deep understanding of human psychology and social dynamics, and exceptional creativity and technical skill. And I think the mystery surrounding his identity protects him and places him, in a sense, outside society, and that is a better position from which to comment and give a more engaging story of society. So in my view, long may he remain an enigma. Thank you for your time and attention, and till next time, I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye for now.